to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is the pregnant void. We're talking about the realm beyond time and space, beyond physicality, beyond knowing into the ineffable. So it'll be a fun conversation. And before we get started, let's just take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, the motion, the tickling and tingling when you stop. And allow all those sensations to bring you present, right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables us to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning. Good morning, Rosalind. So good to have you joining us this morning, and everybody else who's with us, welcome. So we're talking about the pregnant void. I had a wonderful conversation or session actually with a client yesterday who is having conversations with death. And that may seem odd or scary, but for this person, the specter of death has been very haunting and terrifying through their lives historically. And the reason behind that being that their experience or their notion of death up until our work around this was very much an experience of aloneness forever in a vast and limitless space, cold, vast, and limitless space. And so they've elected to engage in these conversations with death, which has been it's really brilliant. And the visualizations and story that is arising from that is just delicious, actually. But yesterday, in this continuing conversation, they experienced a void, this black and limitless space, no stars, nothing animated. It started out that way. And their sense of it was a sense of the ineffable, that it wasn't cold. It wasn't, there was nothingness. It was this incredibly vast nothingness. And there wasn't a malevolence about it. Their experience actually was one of warmth. And rather than isolation, it was this inclusive space. And it brought to mind to me a phrase that I had read years and years ago by Deepak Chopra, and that was the pregnant void. And that's the conversation we're having today. And the pregnant void, in my conceptualization of it, and I don't know if that is exactly what Deepak Chopra meant, but that this is the nothing that is the source of everything, the nothing before the everything. So the pure, this was also what he said, was pure potentiality. So in quantum physics, the the I guess it's is it Schrodinger's cat, where there's a cat in the box. This is talking about the uncertainty principle. And I don't like the imagery here that much, but the idea is the cat in the box. We don't know if it's alive or dead until we open the box. And not only do we not know, but it isn't alive or dead until we open the box. And if we think about the pregnant void, that in that void is the potentiality, pure potentiality for anything and everything. And then from that void emerges the everything or the anything even. And it's an interesting thought to play with. And this was not a concept that was familiar to my client when they experienced it. And the thing that's interesting too is that it is a realm, I don't know better words than, because this defies our words, but it is a realm or dimension or state that is a non-state. So in being nothing in its way, it's everything. This gets interesting to find words for something that is ineffable and indescribable. So pure potentiality is the energy of from which anything and everything can emerge. That's the idea here. And when people go into this meditative state, with Joe Dispenza, I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza. I've talked about him a lot. He's like world-class meditation advocate. And that's putting it lightly. He runs these incredible retreats, meditation retreats, and is doing all kinds of physiological documentation of the transformations that occur for people as a result of meditation and even during the process of meditation. So there's all kinds of people that have phenomenal healings and also people who have these transcendental experiences. And it's all being documented with brainwave charting and heart monitoring and blood pressure and all kinds of other metrics. So it's pretty extraordinary. Anyway, what he talks about is getting into a state of no space, no time, no body, to become nobody, no thing, nothing, nobody, nowhere. And it's getting into this space of the void and into this space of the pregnant void and pure potentiality. And from that space of pure potentiality that's beyond thought, beyond words, beyond brain, beyond conceptualization, that that is the space from which everything and anything emerges, and that's the space from which the potential for remarkable, extraordinary healing can occur, because it is the space of everything, everything and nothing. And it's a space that we can tap, that we can access through deep meditation and presencing on a whole different dimension, where we reconnect to our origin. And we're not even going to debate I understand the words are flawed, okay? So I'm aware of that, but we say that we're not humans having a spiritual experience, we are spirit having a human experience. And what if this black vast emptiness is the consciousness of the universe, the ever presence of the universe? Now, I'm not a person who's comes up with or believes in definitive answers for any of this stuff. You know, what's the purpose of the universe? What's the nature of the universe? Anything that we come up with, I'm kind of, again, holding it with open hand. It's a great working hypothesis, whatever. So those are all my disclaimers. But this vast potentiality, the source consciousness from which everything emerges, is, for lack of better words to describe it, is what this client accessed yesterday. And it was so cool, because they felt a peacefulness, and they were introduced to this by death. And at one point in the conversation with death had this cloak, and in the space where the face would be of death, within the cloak there was just blackness. And so this person was asking death something about its nature, and death pulled off the cloak for a moment, and there was the scary skeleton with the dark teeth, and our classic depiction of the grim reaper kind of death. And then it put the cloak back on, and it said, "Is that what you were expecting?" And then laughed, because it was, in that scenario, feeding into this person's caricature of death. And they both were able to have a laugh together. Like that the notion of death as obliteration is the one that we're most familiar with. And many of us who have a more spiritual indoctrination or orientation are inclined to sense death, and I want to say life, as that pregnant void, this wholeness, this unity beyond unity. the pure potential for all this singular consciousness. I'm calling it that. Doesn't mean it's true, but that's how I'm relating to it at this point. And it was really interesting because it was very comforting for this person who previously had had an experience in one of their visualizations, not in a conversation with death, but had had an experience of sitting with the tree in the roots of the tree and being embraced by that tree, and the nurturing and safety that they experienced also was ineffable. It was transcendent, transcending words. And it's an experience that they're able to go back to and recreate and um, regenerate. And it gave them a very deep sense of belonging and safety in this world. And we were talking about that versus the blackness, and they said that it was very similar in certain respects because there was this sense of safety and comfort. And what we were able to distinguish was that the tree was this physical identity in the physical realm, the material realm. And what this person had great fear of in relation to death is losing themselves. And it was the self that was hanging out with the tree. And then yesterday, in this blackness, they had this other identification, if that's even an appropriate word, with the self, again, an inappropriate word, that was the void, that was present in the void, or that, again, the words are really tough here. Um, so they were experiencing their physical self, their physical beingness, and in yesterday experiencing their essential beingness that is not in any way individualized, that is the source of their beingness in whatever manifestation. So I think this notion of the pregnant void has stuck with me. I must have read it a long time ago. I don't even want to say how long ago, because the numbers game here is just also something that I can't even conceptualize for myself at all. In the passage of time, to be able to go back and say tens tens of years, this is just, I can't quite integrate that. I'm sure I'm not alone in not really having a relationship to this age thing. But anyway, it stuck with me, having read it so many years ago, as such a perfect way to speak of something for which there's no words. The pregnant void, pure potentiality. And I invite us all to be looking and feeling into, what if that is our essential nature? What if who we are at the very core is that pure potentiality manifesting in this physicalness and generating this whole physical being? When we can touch into that pure potentiality, when we can presence ourselves to that, when we can dissolve our material representation into that, then potentially we can retrieve any possibility. We can extract, or again, bad words, or inadequate words. We can invoke anything. And where this conversation comes from too is a very profound awareness of how malleable our reality is. And the more, my hope is, for me anyway, that the more I'm aware of how malleable our reality is, the more capable I'll become of molding and shaping it in a more deliberate way, in a more conscious, aware way, where I can really enjoy the connections between my beingness and what is being created. Um, in order to do that, I think what we get to do is to dissolve all the overlays, or as many of the overlays as we're able, that that are like fencing, corralling us into a specific experience. Anyway, it was interesting. Another piece of this conversation yesterday, which was awesome, which is again about the pregnant void, was this person was sitting side by side with death and said, I want to know you. No, I no, they actually said, I want to be you, I think. And death said, I want to know you better. I want to know you. And it reminded me of this notion of this creation, which I'm very connected to this notion that who we are is life expressing itself through the unique vessel that each of us is. And here we were having the void and the manifestation wanting to know one another. So it was another expression of life expressing itself, understanding itself, experiencing itself through us as its vehicle. Kind of a cool thing. And that's what I had come to years ago, is that what this is God knowing itself. And you could call it God, you could call it consciousness, you could call it the void, whatever it is, knowing itself, life knowing itself through all these myriad experiences. So welcome to the void. And what if that is the essence of our being, the pregnant void? It's like an empty everything, the nothing that is everything. And from that nothing, anything can emerge. So Rosalind says, I've heard it called the Logos. That's beautiful. I wasn't aware of that. I'll have to check into that word so reach a deeper understanding. Anyway, that's it for today. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to please like, follow, and share Enlightened World Network and me. The links are in the description. And as always, it's a deep pleasure and privilege to have this opportunity to muse together about nature of all things. So until next time.